Hey there and welcome back to my channel. In this video in 1673, the British Parliament passed the British East India Company a monopoly on the tea trade with the purpose of saving the company from bankruptcy. Which brings us to the second significance of the Boston Tea Party. It radicalized the colonists and unified them against the British. Remember, throughout the period between the end of the French and Indian War and the start of the American Revolution, there had been a fair amount of debate over the issue of independence. Many colonists still felt loyal to the crown, and many more did not feel that independence was worth the cost. But events like the Boston Tea Party and the subsequent coercive acts changed all that. The acts were so oppressive that they turned the moderates against the king and made independence more and more appealing. In fact, the coercive acts are often cited as one of the major causes of the American Revolution. And directly as a result of the radicals convening a meeting to discuss a response to the acts, we got the First Continental Congress in 1774. But the only problem was that in order to exercise that monopoly, as a result of the Boston Tea Party and the subsequent events, I've got videos right here on all the other required cases if you need them. If you need help getting an A in your class and a 5 on your exam in May, the ideas of no taxation without representation and the right of the people to resist tyrannical government had taken root, and though neither was established at this point, both would become cornerstones of American democracy. They also had to maintain a tax on tea, which was deeply unpopular with the colonists who felt that since they had no representation in Parliament, this was a case of taxation without representation. And since that was a bad thing, the colonists organized a protest. A group known as the Sons of Liberty, which was dedicated to fighting for colonial rights, met up in secret and then decided that the best way to protest this tea act was to dump British tea into the Boston Harbor. So on December 16, 1773, some 100 members of the Sons of Liberty, dressed up like Mohawk Indians, snuck onto 3 ships docked in Boston Harbor and did just that. They dumped 342 chests of valuable tea into the water. So if you're ready to get them brain gals milked, then let's get to it. Why is this event significant? Well, first of all, this act of defiance marked an escalation in colonial resistance to British rule. Prior to this, acts of protest had been largely non-violent, but now that the colonists had taken a direct action that destroyed valuable property, things were going to get very ugly. And indeed they did. These acts, which came to be known as the coercive acts or the intolerable acts, included closing down the port of Boston until the colonists paid for the tea that had been destroyed. It also placed a number of restrictions on town hall meetings, and it allowed British officials to be tried in other jurisdictions. And finally, it sent 2,000 British troops to occupy Boston. And that last bit was definitely meant to send a message to the other colonies as well. An assertion of military force that demonstrated the power of the British Empire. Okay, so first of all, as always, let's get the facts of the case. So why does this even matter? Now, the colonists, predictably, were not just going to sit back and take it. And that brings us to the third and final reason that this event matters. Okay, that's what you need to know about the Boston Tea Party. And finally, if this video helped you and you want me to keep making them, then by all means subscribe and I shall oblige.